Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Tales of Stattendor, with me, James David. So, in previous episodes I've mentioned that I came up with a lot of ideas for characters, and I filled the world with lots of different people, with motivations and agendas and whatnot, and if they may or may not appear later on in the ongoing comic book series. Now, with all of that in mind, the biggest issue I probably had to face with all of this is the overall one of continuity. So what happens, what officially happens, what is canon, and most importantly, who lives and who dies, and why. So sit back and relax as I tell you a tale or two. So, as I mentioned in previous episodes, I had originally planned for Tales of Stattendor to be a shared universe across multiple different platforms. So this would include YouTube, TikTok, a few blog sites, Patreon, and also comics and books and novels and short stories. Now, as I start to produce the bulk of the work and to distribute it, I'm starting to reflect upon that, and sorry, I'm laughing as I say this because it's like it becomes fairly obvious that if you want to put out all that content, you need to do it continuously, and the workload is very demanding. But as a creative, I can't just churn out all of these ideas all the time continuously without having some sort of breakdown. So to counter this, I realised that I need to cut back on what I'm producing and where. So I poured all of my main focus into producing Tales of Stattendor, the comic book series. Through this decision, I would make Tales of Stattendor, the comic book series, this sort of the main medium of the series itself. So that would be where people would read the story to see what's happening in the world, but if they want to read about additional characters and learn about their origins or other adventures they've been on, or what certain characters will do between major storyline appearances, then I think moving forward I'm going to be doing those stories in the Legends series of books. I'm still working on the next Legends novel, which is going to be different from Orange Leaf, because instead of it being focused on a single character, which was Sir Fabian Orange Leaf, this new story is going to be focusing on an event. This event being a wedding between two somewhat respectable families. So they're not nobles, so they don't have titles like Lord or Lady. And they're not dukes or earls, but they are landed gentlemen per se. And they need this wedding to go through so that both families can benefit from it. However, as we've learned in real life, things don't always go according to plan. And that in turn is the focus of this novel. But it will also introduce us to a number of characters who may or may not make an appearance in the comics, and if they don't make an appearance, then they may get a few references now and again. Now, the reason I bring all this up once again is because of the issue of continuity and canon. The issue being is that I've mapped out the history of the world of Stattendor in sort of big moments, like ages. So the way in which I thought of it was that each age begins with a massive event. So this event isn't like a shooting star or something like that, but it's like a personal or social event. So for example, the discovery of magic is a big event. The fall of the Isarian Empire, the empire which composed much of the Western continent where humans live, is another big event, and then so on from there. And I think by the time of the comics begins, I think we're on the 6th age, but I haven't properly defined it because I like the idea of there being lots of mystery, and I still want readers to uncover it as they read. Another issue I've come face to face with is regarding promoting and talking about characters. There are certain characters within the world of Stattendor I can't really talk too much about without spoiling the series, but I will say that by issue number 4, we are going to be encountering a character who is essentially a cornerstone of folklore within the Successor Kingdom. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but you're going to see them in issue number 4. And this character is going to be something of an omen in the ongoing comic book series, short stories, novels and novellas, and will be referenced and may appear quite frequently within those same stories. Now, I mention all of this again because as I'm starting to write more, and I'm trying to be mindful of the production of it, so I can't talk too much about one event in the comics before I write about it in the novellas, and vice versa. So there's lots of historical events which have happened, and I can talk about that in the stories and the books, but I will say that I will leave certain things untouched for now. And that's why when I'm sort of thinking of making a shared universe with all of my stories, I need to be mindful as to what I'm shining a light on and expanding upon, because what can affect one group of characters in one section of the world may eventually affect another group of characters later on, and continuity is such a big thing for me because I said in the past that I've often watched many TV shows and films, and they would often do sequels, and one thing I always felt as a pet peeve personally to me are continuity errors or retcons. Unless they're done with a specific reason or handled a certain way, I don't really approve of them. For example, when I was doing my short films on YouTube and TikTok, I was doing one series about this group of adventurers called the Wild Company. I wanted to do more with them in regards to storytelling and adventures, but I found out I was putting in a lot of effort to make these stories without much of a plan as to what the overarching story would be. And I was always doing it like the night before I would publish the episode, so I was always in this mad rush to get it together, and it would always burn me out. So I was a bit like, oh, okay, as much as I enjoy making this, I actually need to have a proper plan as to what I'm doing and why. So I cut back on that for a while, and I decided that, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to make a proper plan and then revisit it in the future. So that being said, anybody who watched The Wild Company or followed The Wild Company and their adventures, do you think you'd want to see them again? Would you like to see more videos featuring the company with the little tabletop miniatures I used? Would you like to see full feature-length episodes return about their adventures and what they get up to? Would you like to see short stories about them? And if you do, or have any other comments about it, comment down below, and I'll take notes, because I'm very curious to know what you guys will think about that. And the videos are still up on my YouTube channel and on my TikTok page, so if you are curious, follow the links and you can see everything there is to see about the Wild Company and the world of Stattendor. So, with that being said, I really hope you've enjoyed this episode today, and if you have any questions about the world of Stattendor and the characters, comment down below and I will include them in my next video. Until then, I hope you all have enjoyed this video.